Sharing this information with us today is Associate Dean Evan Simpson, who I'll intro shortly, and we're grateful for his time and partnership to make today's event happen. Before we begin, a little about this session. We'll have time towards the end for questions, so please feel free to use the chat to enter any questions as they come to mind, and I will moderate with Evan during the Q&A. Finally, this session is being recorded and will be shared with all registrants in the next few business days, along with the slides that Evan has prepared. And now to our speaker. Evan Simpson is the Associate Dean for Research and Learning at Northeastern University Libraries. In this role, Evan provides strategic leadership to foster research excellence and enhance learning experiences across the Northeastern community, including alumni, as you'll hear about shortly. He has been at Northeastern for 9 years and previously held roles at Tufts University and Brandeis University. Evan, thank you again for being with us today. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Gina, and thanks to all of you for helping make tonight happen. So happy that you were able to join us. I have a few slides to share with you all. First off, just a quick outline for those slides. Talk a little bit about your library, past, present, and future. And I'll talk about some of our key initiatives, a reading life, some of our research resources. I'll talk a little bit about navigating public libraries and then helpful resources for you. First and foremost, we're here to say that Northeastern, as you may have known, has grown exponentially in the last 5 to 10 years. We have campus sites at over 12 locations now across North America, Canada, and including London. This has pushed the library to really become a digital library that for a global campus university. And I'll get into that in a little bit. We'll go through some of these research resources that we have for you. As I mentioned, a reading life, Overdrive, and the Libby app, which allows you to read some fiction and nonfiction books that are not so scholarly, and then a bunch of research databases for scholarly information. So I'm going to keep going here. So as I mentioned, a digital library for a global university. We are all about digital information, ebooks, online access to information. And as a part of that, we negotiate to make sure that alumni have access to some of those resources as well. We are still a library committed to immersive learning experiences. So the library is recently renovated. We have tons of new amazing spaces that catalyze research, help students focus, and create new knowledge. Access is key. Student success, the research enterprise, all rely on access to that information. We feel like we're doing a really good job serving that entire global university as well as the Boston campus. Some of our signature programs, and you see some of those listed here, first-year experience program dedicated to first-year students on the Boston campus and across the network, an entrepreneurship program, a STEM program, art, social sciences, and humanities, archives and special collections, and a thriving teaching with archives program where we invite students into the library to work with some of those collections. We're deep into digital scholarship and innovative ways of engaging with library services and spaces. We have an incredible digital repository where faculty and students can actually place learning materials and other research materials that they want others to discover. We're very committed to accessibility. And of course, we have a ton of online learning opportunities going on to make sure that entire network of students and faculty have access to library services, including things like interlibrary loan. So just a brief overview of sort of your library past and more present and future in terms of our digital library presence, but also some of our commitments to the in-library experience. I talked a little bit about our commitment to a reading life. We've discovered that students are thirsty not only for scholarly information, but also for fiction and nonfiction that's sort of popular. And so we've made an investment in a platform called Overdrive, which is mostly in public libraries. So we're a little different in that way. Overdrive gives students, faculty, and alumni access to a ton of books, ebooks, and audiobooks. And I'll show you a little bit how you get to those books and how you actually can save and download and read those books on your devices. So using Overdrive really quick, for those of you that have experienced Overdrive before, it's going to look a little different from your public library, different library to library. Here's what Northeastern's Overdrive interface looks like. And I've highlighted how you can pull down this collections menu and select any of these collections here. So biography and memoir reads, sci-fi and fantasy reads, crime and mystery reads, all sorts of different collections right at your fingertips. You can also do a search. Here's a sample search for energy, and you can see all the different collections or individual titles that might come up. Energy Revolution, the Energy Vampires. I have no idea what that's about, maybe for you to discover. So these are a couple different ways you can find books in Overdrive, really trying to encourage you and make sure you know it's efficient and easy to find things that you might want to read. Couple of highlights of Overdrive and the Libby app. The Libby app will allow you to read across your devices, listen in your car. And the Libby app is what's going to allow you to send that book to your Kindle, which is something we know people really like to do. So keep in mind, the Libby app is what you're going to need. And here's a couple tips on the Libby app. You're going to get that from the App Store. Libby's going to ask you if you have a library card and you're going to affiliate with Northeastern University. You're going to sign in with your Northeastern username and password. And we have a little bit of information later about username and password in case you don't know what that is. So we'll move on to some databases that are available to alumni. And this is where we're really proud to say that as part of our negotiation process with publishers, we make sure to always ask for alumni access. Not every publisher is willing to grant access to alumni for a university community, but we stand strong in making that one of the things that we really demand from publishers. And oftentimes we have been successful in negotiating alumni access. We have access to hundreds of databases, and unfortunately, not all of those are able to be licensed for alumni access, but we're doing a decent job. I'm going to go through some highlights in different subject areas so that you have a sample of what's available. All of these will be linked, and I'll also show you a link where you can get to all of the electronic resources available to alumni through the library. So in terms of business and entrepreneurship, this is some of the requests we get the most from alumni in terms of access to information. A couple highlights here are the BCC Research Collection, which is market research reports and forecasts, absolutely useful for undergraduates, graduate students, faculty, staff, and the general public, whoever they may be. If you have access to something like BCC Research, you really have a leg up in terms of understanding where trends are going with different consumer products. And again, basic market reports that forecast how consumers are buying, purchasing, selling different products in different areas of the world. Mergent Intellect, another really popular business resource we've been able to negotiate for alumni access. Fantastic information on companies, search public companies, generate industry and investment analyses. Really, really interesting resource. Sloan Management Review from MIT, one of the leading business sources. This is also available to alumni. So just a short sampling of some of the resources we have in business and entrepreneurship. In terms of STEM resources, here's some highlights from there. BioSic, over 20,000 genome databases, high-level curation for important microbes. This is one of our most popular scientific databases used by College of Science, College of Engineering, Microbiology Society journals, tons of journals in that collection, and very proud to bring you American Chemical Society publications. Of course, one of the longest and most trustworthy publishers of scholarly content, this time focused on chemistry, but really interdisciplinary when it comes to the sciences. Alumni have access to all of the American Chemical Society publications. IET Digital Library and IET TV are both engineering specific. So if you're engineering or looking for engineering information, fantastic resources for that. And we have a lot more engineering literature in some of the interdisciplinary science databases available to alumni. This is just a couple examples here. In terms of arts, social sciences, and humanities, a couple really great things. ACLS Humanities ebook collection. This came up earlier in one of the sessions we did for alumni. Fully searchable scholarly books in the humanities covering arts, social sciences. Lots of really interesting stuff there. And then Project Muse. This is a subset of the JSTOR collection, which is a very popular database. Project Muse is scholarly journals in the humanities, religion, literature, philosophy. You'll find tons of ebooks and journals in that database. So interdisciplinary databases in law, annual reviews, and Westlaw Campus Research. We're very proud to bring you Westlaw Campus Research. This is one of the leading interdisciplinary resources that tends to, for legal research, available in academic libraries. So that is absolutely available to alumni. Newspapers and news resources. Unfortunately, we've not been able to negotiate for alumni access to a ton of major newspapers, but here's some of those where we've been successful. And the most popular is probably Congressional Quarterly, but Foreign Policy, Mideast Wire, and the Nikkei Asia are all also available to alumni. And these are all linked on the alumni resources page from the library website, which we'll provide in a second. In terms of archives and special collections, I want to encourage you to visit our Boston campus for archives and special collections. These include amazing collections for local community organizations, papers of Melnia Cass, Metro, Big Dig, the Boston Phoenix. We have a renovated lower level. Please make an appointment, check out the website, come on by for a visit. We also have a fantastic archives and special collections at the Olin Library on the Mills College campus. So if you happen to be out in Oakland or a member of the Mills College community, that archive is also open to you. Get in touch, make an appointment, come and check out some of their great stuff. Finally, navigating public libraries. And this is something where as we interact with alumni across the network, across the United States, across the world, we're frequently pointing them towards public libraries where they may find some of library services at their fingertips. So quiet spaces and programming, books and everything else. Of course, interlibrary loan. Interlibrary loan is not something that we're able to provide alumni from the Boston campus, but you certainly have access to interlibrary loan services at your local public library. You also may have access to statewide databases through your local public library. And I'll give you an example here in a second. They also have reference and research help. So keep all these things in mind as you're navigating your information needs. We're happy to help you find books at a local public library, identify a local public library you have access to, et cetera, et cetera. And in terms of Massachusetts, as an example, the Boston Public Library provides a statewide e-card, which gives you access to a ton of different databases and publications. For locating books across the world, I can't recommend this database enough. WorldCat will tell you which library near you has a book that you might be looking for or a journal that you might be looking for. WorldCat's linked right here. It's free to all. We use WorldCat a lot in our work, and sometimes when we're helping alumni locate a library where they can access a book, WorldCat comes into play. Some helpful links. Again, this will be emailed out for you. The most helpful link here is probably the list of resources for alumni there. That's where you're going to find information on all the different databases you have access to, all the newspapers, all the different journals, all the different databases that I showed you earlier, including BCC Research. All those different things will be linked from that page. Ask a librarian, just all the different options for getting help, and then a link for alumni accounts. And we'll have a little bit more information in a second on alumni accounts so you know exactly what to do if you don't know what your account is. Lastly, can't encourage you enough, get in touch if you have questions, comments, observations. We'd love to be in touch, love to know how you're using library resources. If you have suggestions, comments, we'd love to get to know you. Please be in touch. Our contact information is here. This will be, of course, included in the slides. And then regarding your account, here's some really helpful information. For those of you who graduated after 2013, your login and password are the same. If you want to visit the library, come onto campus and get an alumni Husky card, which will get you access into the library, and then fill out that library privileges request form so that we can set up your account that you can use to borrow books. If you graduated prior to 2013, you may need to establish an account, and you'll do that with Information Technology Services by calling that team or by emailing help@northeastern.edu. And with that, I think we can open it up for questions. Thank you.
Super. Thanks so much, Evan.
Yeah.
We do have a question from Gary, who wants to know if there are any plans to add the New York Times or Boston Globe.
Gary, I would love to be able to add the New York Times and Boston Globe. We finally got a subscription to the New York Times about 3 years ago. This was something that appeared on the students' budget priority list for many, many years, and we were not able to get the New York Times to give us a reasonable price to subscribe. Were able to do that a few years ago, and unfortunately, the price was double to add alumni access. And so we weren't able to do that at the time. We do have a renewal coming up with the New York Times, I believe in a year. And at that time, we will absolutely go back to the table and make sure we ask the question once again about alumni access. The New York Times has definitely become a lot more flexible in terms of how they work with Northeastern. So I think I'm encouraged to think that I'm encouraged by what might be good news in a year or so. But right now, unfortunately, we do not have access. Alumni do not have access to the New York Times. Boston Globe has not been a very good partner in terms of giving Northeastern a very reasonable deal. Unfortunately, what they've offered us is an account-based access model, and we unfortunately don't have the capacity in our library to manage an account-based access model. So this is something that we've been pushing the Globe to change, and we hope that they'll offer a different access model that is what we call IP-based, meaning you're able to log in using your Northeastern credentials and gain access to the resource.
Thank you. And next question is from William, who asked if the Boston Business Journal is available.
Good question, William. You're the second person to ask today about that. And the Boston Business Journal is not available to alumni. And I have yet to be able to do a thorough check on where we might have access to the Boston Business Journal through or from. It might be through another vendor or publisher's website product. I don't have the answer to that yet. So that's one that I noted earlier because someone had this question. We will figure out if a subscription is possible. And as we always do, we'll ask about alumni access when we do that. That procurement process does take a little bit of time. So you'll have to watch that web page for any new updates on whether or not we're able to add that resource. But you're also welcome to get in touch with me. I will add that, as I noted earlier, Gina heard the same thing earlier, right? We'll add that to the list and we'll get started figuring out if we do have access, if not, if we do not, we will work with the publisher to see what's possible.
What about past editions archival?
Exactly. I don't know if we have any access to back files. That is a really good question. I don't know the answer to that. I would like to think that through some product, we may have access to some back files, but having not been able to do a search yet, I don't know. But I do have this jotted down, and we're happy to follow up directly if you'd like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Super. Brenda has a question. I have Libby through my local library. Can Northeastern be added as an additional library, or is it necessary to delete the app and say I don't have a library?
You should be able to add Northeastern, so you can have two different libraries affiliated with through your Libby app. Absolutely.
I can say myself personally, I have done that.
Okay, great. We have testimony here. Fantastic.
Brenda, if you have any questions or any trouble, feel free to reach out to me. I'll do my best to help you out. Joseph has a question. How about Lexis or Nexus?
The library subscribed to Nexus for many years, and we actually discontinued our subscription to LexisNexis years ago and replaced LexisNexis with a combination of products. Those two products were Westlaw Campus Research, which is that database that I pointed to earlier for legal studies, and Access World News, which it gave us access to the same swath of media coverage that LexisNexis had, but through a different interface. Unfortunately, the Access World News portion of that is not accessible to alumni, but we were able to negotiate for Westlaw Campus Research to be accessible to alumni.
Super.
I'm doing it soon.
And Tom has a question. Are there plans to handle natural disasters that impact physical libraries or the computers that store online info?
Yeah, there are a lot of different preservation programs that libraries participate in. We are also part of some of those preservation programs. There are many different methods and approaches to this. There are preservations programs that we are part of that are aimed at preserving the print scholarly record. And so libraries agree to essentially retain books in certain subject areas and for certain lengths of time to ensure that those libraries have access to those books, even in the face of some libraries getting rid of their book collections. In other cases, we have are participating in digital preservation initiatives where there are servers and redundant servers built and what are called deep archiving to ensure that documents are retained or preserved for their lifetime. Sometimes that involves metadata work, like making sure we assign digital object identifiers to documents. This gets us into some talk about digital curation, which the library is involved in. So yeah, we are deeply involved in making sure to sort of preserve the scholarly record in multiple different formats.
Wonderful. Thank you. One point I wanted to make, we had a similar session earlier today, and there were a handful of Mills alumni who joined us who had questions about accessing the Northeastern library resources. So I wanted to point that out tonight in case there are any Mills alums who have the same questions tonight or today, as it may be where you are. So I'm putting the Northeastern general alumni email address in the chat. It is alumni@northeastern.edu. So if you are a Mills alum and you're in need of an NUID so that you can access these resources, please send an email to alumni@northeastern.edu. And my colleague Allie will help you get that process started. It is a monitored inbox. I sit right behind the person who answers those emails. So it's you're not going into the abyss. We have someone who can help you out. Any other questions for Evan? I know this was a lot of information, so helpful and really great to have these resources accessible no matter where alumni are. Really great information to have.
I just pasted the link to the online resources available to alumni page. Great page for you to check out. We keep this page updated. Anytime we have something new to add, we add it right away. If you'd like to stay in touch with us in any way, shape, or form, that Ask a Librarian link, which is embedded in the PowerPoint, really just any way you want to get in touch, feel free to. We'll route your question as best we can, get it answered as quickly as possible, and happy to help you in any way we can.
Thank you so much, Evan. And yes, folks are asking if we'll get the PowerPoint. Yes, indeed. I will be sending out the link to this recording as well as the PowerPoint slides that Evan has put together, so you can reference those as needed. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Evan, for this incredible information and for all of your assistance to make this such a valuable resource for alums. No matter where you are, there are more events like this one that we hope you'll join us for. I'll put our events website link in the chat so you can check those out and see what is going on near you. And with that, it concludes our session tonight or today. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you all again soon.
Thank you, Gina. And thank you all for being part of the library community. Appreciate it.
Yeah.